Hello everyone. In this session, we will discuss some of the important concepts of research methodology. So, today's session is about phases of business research, process and formulation of research problem, and sources. So, the first topic is phases of business research. It includes some 10 phases. We will discuss one by one in detail. The first one is selection of research problem. This phase is about selecting the problem where the research is required. So we have to be very careful in selecting the area of the problem. So the second phase is extensive literature survey. After selecting the research problem, we have to go through some of the related works regarding this research which were done previously. The third phase is making hypothesis. So we have to make some assumptions which can be useful in our research study. The fourth phase is preparing the research design. Once we have done with all the three phases, we have to prepare a research design which we are going to follow in our research study. The fifth stage is the sampling stage. Here we will choose out the sample which we require out of the population. So choosing the sample out of the population, we will follow different methods depending upon the research work we follow. So the sixth phase is data collection. After sampling the population, we have to collect data from the samples. Once the data has been collected, the data are to be analyzed. We have to filter out what are the data which is necessary or which is required for our research purpose out of the collected data. Seventh stage is testing the. In this stage, an analyst tests the assumption regarding a population parameter. The methodology employed by the analyst depends on the nature of the data used and reason for the analysis. The next stage is generalization and interpretations. Once we are done with the data collection, data analysis and hypothesis testing, here we are going to interpret the data we have collected and analyzed, and we are going to generalize. And the final phase is the preparation of report. Once we are done with all the research phases, we are going to prepare a report for the research study we have done. Next, we will discuss how to formulate a research problem. So, in order to formulate your research problem, we are required to follow some 5 ways. The first one is specify your research objectives, review its context or environment, explore its nature, determine variable relationships, and anticipate the possible consequence of alternative approaches. After following these 5 ways in formulation of research problem, we need to follow a process. Let us now discuss what are the process which we include in the formulation of research problem. The first process is identify the broad study area. Here we should identify the field in which we would like to work a long time with the purpose of the research. The second process is dissect the broad study areas into sub areas. In this stage, you need to dissect and specify your research broad study area into some sub areas. So the third one is process is mark up your interest. It is almost impossible to study all the sub areas, right? So that's why we must identify our area of interest. So we should select issues in which we are passionate about. Our interest speaks a lot in this process. The fourth stage is study research question. In these steps, in formulating a research problem, you would point out your research questions under the area of interest as you decided in the previous stage. So the next process is set out objectives. Set out conspicuously your research root objectives and sub objectives. Research objectives essentially comes from research questions. So the next phase is assess your objectives. Now we should evaluate our objectives to make sure the possibilities of attaining them through our research study. And the final process is check back. Before we go on research work, we should review all steps in formulating a research problem and all the things that you have done till now for the purpose of our research study. So once we are done with the process in formulating the research problem, we should start collecting our data, right? Only with the data we can proceed with our research work, right? So in order to collect the data, first we have to look for the sources. So here the sources can be of two types. One is primary source and the other one is secondary source. So we will discuss what are primary sources. So primary sources contain first-hand information that you are reading the author's own account on a specific topic or event that he or she participated in. Some of the examples of primary sources are diaries, speeches, eyewitness and autobiographies. So secondary sources are nothing but it describe, summarize or discuss information or details originally presented in another source, meaning the author in most cases did not participate in the event. Example, dictionaries, encyclopedias and newspaper. So in this session we have discussed about some of the important topics under research methodology. Hope you all have understood. Have a great day. Thank you.